guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Mail. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He has written several times about his adventures with his crazy ex-wife and all the things she put him through. Different gals he dated before he eventually met and married his now wife, who he's been with for a long time and has had a good marriage. And this particular story is writing in about the drama that his wife was putting him through post-divorce and things with custody and all that, and how our guy here in court was able to use his wife's craving for attention and validation against her. You're going to see that his wife, and this is before these events I'm going to read happened before social media, but people were still online and there was like online journals and stuff like that, and his wife was writing all these things in an online journal for everybody to see. And well, it comes back to haunt her. And so that would be a very good story and a good point to make is watch out what you post online, because once it's out there, it is out there and come back to haunt you. And this guy, both with him and his lawyer, helped him have the last laugh. So it says here, Dear SSM, I'm the guy that's written several stories to you about post-divorce girlfriends, the divorce of my crazy ex Cindy, and a few other stories about before I married her. While I was working out the other day, I was listening to a video of yours a couple days back with some advice about how to handle post-divorce parenting. A guy wrote in a good video about that, things that he dealt with post-divorce. He's a lawyer. A lot of you guys saw it. If you're interested, I'll post a link in the comments section. You'll be able to see it. One of the things he said caught my attention as being important, not only post-divorce, but when raising your kids. This was to be involved with your child's school and activities. This particular lesson is important for two reasons. Number one is because you should be involved with your kids. It's a much more fulfilling means of being a parent than the alternative. Number two, is that it will also go well during divorce proceedings if they take place. This especially came true during the temporary orders hearing of my divorce. Yeah, you're going to see this. And by the way, guys, this guy really got the shaft in the divorce. I believe she pulled the whole fear for her life type of thing, making up a bunch of stories about him. So he had to leave his own house, and she got it, and he couldn't get his stuff. I mean, it was a big mess. Additionally, I like to add one more rule. Don't talk about your divorce or drama on social media. You don't want to put that drama out there for someone to use in the future. This is another lesson that served me well during my hearing, as I will explain. He says the temporary orders hearing ended up getting postponed because the judge was sick on the day of the hearing. So we didn't have it until almost 4 months after I was kicked out of my own house with a bogus restraining order. It's freaking crazy. Guy does nothing. All she has to do is he said he did this, and this. Boom. In his location and this time period. I will remember that hearing for the rest of my life. I think this was truly the first moment that Cindy realized how badly things were going to go for her during our divorce. The hearing started out with my attorney questioning me. I told my attorney about how I would be the best option for my son as far as parenting, how I was involved with him, and how my wife was not making any effort to communicate, even through channels. I told her how she was making decisions about our son's well-being without consulting me, how she wanted to put him on medication that I thought would be a bad idea, and how she never consulted me. It never ceases to amaze me how easily parents, but particularly the moms, will jump on the medication train. You know, and I've known some families that's been the same thing. It's like, hold on here. Medication should be a last freaking resort. How she wanted to put him on the medication, blah, blah, blah. I thought it'd be a bad idea, and she never consulted me. How I had never been told that my other daughter had been moved from the mental institute to live with her grandparents. Mental institute. I also told her, again, he's speaking to the lawyer in court, how it had been 4 months and my wife had consistently refused to allow me access to any of our property. How I was served with the restraining order in October, and now in February, I was still wearing a windbreaker because my wife would not let me get my winter coat. Bro, I'm sure you could have gone to the store and bought a fucking winter coat, but I get your point. You couldn't get in your house to get anything you wanted. As I made that point, I noticed that the judge looked at me incredulously as if she realized I'd been hosed through the whole process. You think? What do you think happens to guys? After that, her lawyer came up to me. He seemed to think that he had answers for it all, but the big one he wanted to address was the lack of communication. Her lawyer accused me of lying, saying that obviously his client was communicating with me if I knew that she was considering putting my son on ADHD medication. I knew it was going to be the ADHD. Knew it. How else would I know about it if she wasn't communicating with me? Now, a good lawyer always asks a question they know the answer to. Well, this hot shot thinks he's hot shit and, well, watch this. Well, I looked at him dead in the eye and I responded, "Oh, she didn't tell me. I read about it in the online journal that she keeps." Online journal. People did that back then. I don't know if they still do that, but they did that back then. Except you can obviously have settings where certain people can see it or it's for the public to see. Well, somebody loves attention and validation, makes it for the whole public to see. I could see the color in both her lawyer's and Cindy's face drain from their faces as I revealed that. He asked how I could have access to it as well. He accused me of hacking her account. Oh, for God's sakes. Once more, without blinking an eye, I responded, "Oh, she has the permission set to that anybody can view it." What a dumbass. As if on cue, my attorney brought up a copy of the journal that I had printed out and presented to the judge while presenting another copy to my wife's attorney. Well, there you go. While this was done before there was really such a thing as social media, the online journals that my wife were keeping proved to be very useful throughout the divorce. At least until she discovered that I was reading them. So she put all this out there for the world to see. My testimony couldn't have gone any better, but what was to come would prove to be truly amazing. My wife was put on the stand. She stayed away from accusing me of all sorts of bad things, and instead focused on trying to talk about what a good mother she was, how she was involved in raising our son, and how I never took an interest taking responsibility for raising the kid. What a steaming pile of crap. And they all do it. Well, how is he supposed to be around the kids when he can't get in the house? And she's making everything as difficult as possible, and won't communicate with him, except for him reading her online journal. Then it was my lawyer's turn. My lawyer walked up with my wife's journal in hand and pointed to one of her entries where she said her focus was on a list of things she wanted to work on in her life. Her writing, being a better person, etc. Nowhere in the entry was her family listed. Could she explain why that was? My wife stumbled some excuse about it. My attorney then said, "You've accused my client of not being involved in the raising of your son. I have here the records on the last 3 parent-teacher conferences that were accomplished with your son. Can you tell me whose signature is at the bottom of the form?" Once more, the color of my wife's face drained as she realized that I was the one attending all the parent-teacher conferences. This guy's attorney's good. And notice, gentlemen, he has a female attorney. A lot of guys have hired female attorneys in divorce proceedings and all that type of stuff. And it's worked very well for them because these female lawyers know how the fucking women work. She said, "Can you please tell me whose signature is at the bottom of the form?" I read that part. Once more, the color of my wife's face drained. She quietly said, "It's his signature." But that is the exception, she said. What a load of crap. She says, "I attend a lot of those too. This is where the lesson about attending your children's activities comes into play. Attend them all, make time." Of course. Next, it was Larry's turn to testify. As you recall, Larry and Susan were the ones that convinced my wife to kick me out of my house and moved in with her. Larry was also sleeping with my ex at the time behind Susan's back. And this is going on with your kids in the house? I won't bore you with the accusations he made on the stand about how abusive he had seen me being towards everybody, but suffice to say, it was bad and completely fabricated. Once more, it was my lawyer's turn for some fun. My lawyer walked up and asked Larry if he would lie if he thought it would benefit him or my wife. Remember, a good lawyer asks a question they know the answer to. Larry abjectly denied that he would never do anything like that. I will never forget the smile on my lawyer's face when she then proceeded to walk back to the table. I handed her 3 copies of his journals. She handed one to my wife's lawyer and another to the judge before she handed Larry our copy, which had an entry circled. Uh-oh. Larry's in deep shit. Looks like Larry's as dumb as your ex, posting all these things on the online journals for everybody to see. My lawyer said, "Will you please read your own journal entry from 4 months ago?" Right there in court, he read the entry about how he was lying to me because he thought it was important to Cindy. About how he lied to get into the military a second time, and then they kicked him out when they found out about it. About how he still got education benefits because if they didn't want to prosecute him for perjury, and it was easier to just give him a general discharge. What a dumbass. They're both dumbasses. But guys, this is a lesson. Anything you ever post online, keep in mind, be aware that maybe, post things, write things if you do that, like you could be potentially deposed on that. And if you want to be deposed on it, don't write something online. As he finished reading the passage, the look of humiliation fed my very soul. Once more, another example of why you should not post your dirty laundry on social media. Dude, that is awesome. Anyway, not sure this will be helpful, but I hope you have a blessed summer. Thanks a lot, SSM. Have a good day. So, there you go. That's an abrupt ending. And obviously things worked out in his favor. But both of them were lying through their teeth. But they were posting all this stuff on not social media, online journals back in the day. Put up the settings that anybody can, and the public can read it. And right there. So they're freaking morons. But the craving for attention and validation, it buried them. So guys, there you go. Again, like I said, be careful what you post on social media. And if you're ever in a bad situation where you need evidence, keep in mind that women just cannot resist the attention and validation. And that could very well help you out in a situation. I don't want you to be in a bad situation, but it could help you. Anyhow, good story there. But again, I might add the sad story here. Remember, this guy was booted out of his house and wasn't in there for months. Couldn't get his stuff. Couldn't get his winter jacket. But he should have bought a fucking winter jacket. And that's what can happen to guys. So you got to play tough and you got to play smart. And again, I like the fact that he hired a female attorney to handle everything. All right, guys, that is it for today. Quick story. I thought it'd be a good one for a Friday. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.